Hello, my name is Sarah. I will be doing my presentation on HELLP syndrome. HELLP is a mnemonic. It stands for hemolysis, elevated liver enzymes, and low platelets. I chose to do my presentation on this syndrome specifically because my mom, when she gave birth to my little sister, she had HELLP syndrome. I was only 8 years old when this happened, so I was not able to really understand the severity of the situation. But both my mom and my sister survived, but my little sister unfortunately sustained some pretty severe brain damage due to lack of oxygen, because my mom went into seizures when her water broke, and they were not able to get her out in time, the baby out in time, without damage to her brain, unfortunately. So I thought that since I know a little bit about biochemistry now, I would try to learn about what happened back when my sister was born. So just an overview, the cause for HELLP syndrome is still unknown. However, it's considered to be a variant of preeclampsia. So that is hypertension in the third trimester of pregnancy. And it can be a very severe condition if not caught early enough. So it typically begins with vasospasms, reducing blood flow. So vasospasms is going to be a narrowing of the arteries. This will lead to endothelial damage to the liver and vascular dysfunction, which leads to a coagulation cascade and platelet aggregation. And then this eventually will lead to multi-organ microvascular injury and hepatic necrosis, otherwise known as death of the liver cells. So hemolysis is a breakdown of red blood cells. And in HELLP syndrome specifically, the type of hemolysis is microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. This is an anemia involving narrowing of the blood vessels. And with the narrowing, some platelet fibrin aggregates obstruct the blood vessel, and that forms a microthrombi. As the red blood cell is moving through the blood vessel, the microthrombi actually lyse or cut the red blood cell, and the red blood cell that has been malformed is called a schistocyte. So the result is anemia, and biologically it's a decreased hemoglobin and hematocrit concentration. So this is going to result in reduced oxygen carrying capacity of the blood, otherwise known as hypoxia or oxygen deficiency. So the oxygen deficiency is going to elevate 3 specific liver enzymes, lactate dehydrogenase, otherwise known as LDH, and then 2 of the trans-aminotransferases enzymes, and these are aspartate aminotransferase and alanine aminotransferase. So I'll start with LDH. LDH is going to be elevated with HELLP syndrome because the body is in hypoxic conditions, and biochemically, LDH is the enzyme that allows glycolysis to continue in anaerobic or oxygen deficient conditions. So the reason that LDH is used as a indicator for HELLP syndrome in a clinical setting is that it indicates cellular death in the liver. So when you see high blood serum levels of LDH, it's indicative of the cell death in the liver. And then for AST and ALT, these are going to catalyze the transfer of alpha amino acids to alpha keto acids, and then they also synthesize amino acids. This is a reversible reaction, and in HELLP syndrome, the reason that these 2 enzymes are also used to be indicative of something serious is that elevated aminotransferases indicates that there's toxins in the body. A healthy person typically will have normal levels of these enzymes or just not elevated levels. So presence of all three of these enzymes indicates liver damage. And then we have low platelet count, otherwise known as thrombocytopenia. So biochemically, platelets are going to aggregate, they circulate in the blood, and they're going to form clots when they recognize damaged blood vessels. This helps to stop bleeding. In HELLP syndrome, the liver endothelial damage is what activates the platelet coagulation cascade. However, because so many or all of the platelets are migrating to the liver and adhering to the endothelium, trying to stop the bleeding, it ends up leading to a consumption of the platelets. So a pregnant woman who has a low platelet count is at risk for HELLP syndrome, and it's definitely an emergency. The result of low platelets is prolonged bleeding, and then eventually, if it's not caught in time, multi-organ microvascular injury and hepatic necrosis, so death of the liver cells. Although doctors and scientists have not been able to figure out the exact cause of HELLP syndrome, there is one theory that I thought was interesting, and that is a fetal defect in the fatty acid degradation pathway. So specifically the step right here, which is the oxidation step catalyzed by L3-hydroxyacyl coenzyme A dehydrogenase, or LCHAD. So a deficiency in this, with this enzyme in the fetus will cause accumulation of 3-hydroxy fatty acids. So this step cannot be catalyzed. This molecule will accumulate in the mother's liver, which eventually becomes toxic to the mother. And then usually it will lead to HELLP syndrome. Like I said, this theory is not set in stone. It's just a theory, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, so lastly, I just wanted to share a couple pictures of my little sister and my mom. Oh, I'm covering my little sister. Yep, that's her. She's the youngest of 5, and we are grateful that she is still around. And then here are my references, and thank you so much for your time and attention.